Bismillah Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. FAROOQ HASAN is back with a brand new episode of Sky is the Limit. Because we all know here in Pakistan the two main issues which plague Pakistan are health and education. We have so many people, agencies, organizations working for the upliftment of the health sector and the education sector. But there are a few individuals who have devoted their life to live for this cause, to make it right, to put all the remedial measures in place so that we can have a better education system. Today I am honored to be with one of those individuals, and I'd like to introduce Ambreen Arif to you. Ambreen Arif, who has about 20 plus years of experience in the education sector, in the education policy advice, technical and analytical support, program implementation, coordination with donor agencies and government partners in Pakistan. So she's a very interesting personality. I've known her for some time, and I'm sure when she shares her experience with you, you'll all be inspired. So let's meet Ambreen. Assalamu alaikum, Ambreen.
Walaikum assalam, FAROOQ. Kaise hain aap? Thank you so much for a wonderful introduction.
Alhamdulillah, it's a real honor to be here with you. And you know, there's so many things to talk about, but I must tell you that Ambreen now is based in Hunza, in Gilgit, and you know, she wants to be close to nature, and she's helping the Gilgit-Baltistan Education Ministry on a pro bono basis to uplift the level of education in GB, which is a great cause. So Ambreen, let's start with the basics. You hail from Karachi, sitting in Islamabad right now at your lovely house, and living in Chitral most of the time, in Hunza most of the time, where you run a resort. So how did the journey start?
So first correction, I do not hail from Karachi. I was born in Karachi, I lived in Karachi, but I'm from a small village in Attak, which is in Punjab. I am very lucky to have lived in Lahore, in Karachi, in Peshawar, have visited Quetta many times, so I call myself a Pakistani.
A true Pakistani.
A true Pakistani, because I've experienced all the provinces. So the journey did start from Karachi, and from Karachi the schooling there was an amazing experience. We were in a school which, if I compare to the schools that are here now, we had a tabla sir, we had a sarangi sir, we had arts teachers, we used to study Urdu literature, we used to study Persian. So if I look at it, I would say that my journey started from that school, because it gave me a very good perspective of life.
Which school was this?
This is called the PCHS school.
PCHS, it's still there.
It is still there. I don't know if it's being run this innovatively or not, but my early education was from there, and I was very lucky. Fatma Suraya Bajia used to visit. She used to organize plays for our school. So you could say it was a very wholesome education that I think gave me the springing board to be what I am today. So I was very lucky to be there. My father was also a huge influence in my life. He was one person who had multicultural friends of all ages. Even at the age of 80, he could sit and chat with a young boy of 20 years with their interest. So having a good home life and a good education is what started my journey. Okay,
great. So you got your early schooling from Karachi, and till O levels or matric?
So in our day and age, O levels was definitely not there.
Come on, you're not that old.
No. We did not have O levels. We had a very good metric. We this was before the martial law of Ziaul Haq. So the education system had not gone through whether it's Urdu medium or English medium. So most of the schools were following a similar English medium plus teaching of Urdu in the schools.
Okay.
So I did my matriculation in Karachi, I did my intermediate in Karachi.
Okay.
Then I came here to Islamabad. 80s was a very difficult time for Karachi, late 80s. And it was just a female headed household because my father was working here. So it was just me and my sisters and my mother. Life became very difficult for women to live in Karachi. So we shifted to Islamabad, and then I did my bachelor's and then went to Quaid-e-Azam University.
For your MPhil?
For my MPhil.
And you did your MPhil in developmental biology. What prompted you to take up this very technical and focused subject?
So I used to love biology.
Okay.
Obviously, you know, my parents wanted me to become a doctor, and I did not want to become a doctor, but had to take all the science subjects. But biology was my passion. So
that's a far off thing from being an educationist.
Yeah, so when I finished my MPhil, most of the research organizations did not have job openings. So as a woman at that time, the most obvious job was being a teacher. So as an
MPhil, still is actually.
No, I think things have really improved for women. I really envy the young women of today because they have so many opportunities that they can take. In my day and age, it was either get married or become a doctor or a teacher. I think even women engineers were very few, far between. So I got the opportunity to become a teacher. My first job was in Fauji Foundation School in New Lalazar, which was an amazing experience, being a teacher. And then from teacher, I went into teacher education.
What were you teaching there?
I was teaching biology and general science. I had a very interesting class. The principal gave me a class which was mostly who had been sort of labeled as failures. And I had the most fun with that class. They were my best class, creative. They did not enjoy their studies a lot. So we would find creative ways of making education fun. So I think that was a very good experience. I fell in love with teaching at that time. And it was quite an experience to stand in front of 30 or 40 inquisitive young girls, and they were all young girls because it was a girls' school. So I felt that there was a lot of responsibility on me to make sure that they get the right
path and they go on the right way.
Although there were many parents who would come and tell me, but you don't teach them how to pass the board exam.
Rectification.
Exactly. So I wasn't very good at that. But then I was lucky. My husband and I, we were both teaching there together. We visited a friend in Lahore. And he introduced us to his boss, who was working at that time in a teacher education institute. Dr. Hamid Kizilbash, I can say he was my mentor, my first boss, who really taught me how to lead a good professional life. So he took us, he said, come and meet my boss. So Arif and I, my husband, we were both young. We went and met him, and he said, why don't you come and join teacher education? And we said, we have no idea what teacher education is. He said, no worries, we'll teach you. This was a project that was being run by Babar Ali Foundation and Lahore, Ali Institute of Education. Sayyid Babar Ali is a very, very big name. I think he has contributed so much to education in Pakistan.
Lumps.
Exactly. So we went on actually a lower salary. I still don't know how Dr. Hamid Kizilbash convinced us to do that, but we went on a lower salary to Lahore. And you know, in teaching, you have 3 months holidays. We did away with that as well. It was literally a 9 to 7 job that we went into. But it was very inspiring because we worked with rural teachers. We worked on teacher education. We were sent off to Shekhupura, Miawali,
remote areas, rural areas.
Exactly.
Okay.
At that time, we were setting up training and resource centers in rural areas. So just being part of that community and working, because we gave a primary diploma to girls who would come, say, from Hafzabad, from Shekhupura. So it was amazing working with those young women who were coming from rural areas, mostly from Punjab. But we had young guys who would come, young women and men who would come from Chitral. I still remember one of our best students was from Shamshal Valley. And he used to tell me that he travels 3 days, 4 days just to get to Lahore to do this degree. And that journey was sometimes on a mule, sometimes on foot, sometimes on a bus.
That's pure passion.
That's pure passion.
So just hold your thought there. So you were doing this training in the rural areas of Punjab. But where did the passion, so is it like you just came into education sector by accident, or did you have that passion that, okay, this is something I want to do when I graduate from university, I want to go in the education sector and I have this fixed goal that I want to make some changes and all. Was it that thought, or you were it just came, things worked out like that and the whole world conspired to bring you into the education sector?
So I think it was a conspiracy.
It was a conspiracy?
So FAROOQ, I think unfortunately, and it's something that happens even today, when you are in college or university, you have no idea why you are doing this degree, or you don't have that mentoring or guidance.
That's true.
No professor will tell you, hey, you're not good in this, or you're very good in this. Why don't you go and do this?
And parental pressure, like you have to take maths, you have to take physics, chemistry, biology.
Exactly. So we did not have that guidance. So it was, okay, no job in a research institute, the only option is going to teaching.
Yeah. Okay.
So from teaching, when we went into the rural teacher training, when we started working with these young girls, I loved it. So I think that is when I developed this passion, and it was like, okay, there's no other job for me.
Okay.
Unfortunately, over the years of my career, I moved away from physical teaching in the classroom to students, into policy making and working more with government officials. But even that was a very interesting journey. I have enjoyed every single day of my career.
So how was the transformation from being a trainer in these rural areas to working with UNICEF and USAID, World Bank for that matter, and as a consultant to the Federal Education Ministry? How was the transformation?
So I think that if I hadn't done the rural experience, if I had not visited those village schools, if I had not interacted with the executive district officer of Kasur or Shekhupura or Kohat or Hangu, I would not have had the understanding of education to go and work with USAID or UNICEF.
The basics and the fundamentals.
Exactly. So they taught me that you can make a very good policy, but there is no photocopier in Kasur. So all the things that you are telling us, that make these worksheets for all the schools. There's no paper, there's no budget for the paper, there's no photocopier, or there's no electricity. So, they gave me a very good grounding to work on policies that make sense, so that are not in the air. And unfortunately, Pakistan has had many, many years of policies that have been written down very nicely, but not implemented.
Okay, okay. So how long did you stay in that program in the rural Punjab before you moved on to
So it was a
the next assignment?
5-year experience, and I was very lucky. The institute sent me to New York to study in one of the best teacher colleges of the world.
Oh, wow.
Teacher College, Columbia University was ranked #1 at that time.
And you did a degree from there?
I did my degree in curriculum and pedagogy from there and came back to Ali Institute, worked there for some time, and then moved on from Lahore to Islamabad and to other jobs. But the degree from Columbia University gave me the theory to what I was experiencing in the field. So I think the combination of the theory, understanding what education psychology is, understanding what are the basics of education theory, so that was a good combination to have.
So tell me one thing, being hands-on, doing face-to-face interaction with all the teachers and students, and then sitting at an isolated place and making policies, what do you enjoy more?
So I've debated that many times with myself. I think both of them are powerful roles. You cannot say that, this one is better or that one is better, because there's a need to do both. And I think policy makers who have stood in front of the class and have used a textbook to teach a class are better at developing policies that are teacher oriented. So I think both are very important, and in my career I've shifted. Like I went from doing policy project implementation to doing hands-on project, like going into the field and actually doing the project, and then shifted from not doing the project but designing the project. So I've shifted over the 20 or more years of my career into both, and I think both have their advantages. Both of them are not easy jobs, because being in the field you have different issues. Being a policy maker, there are different issues that you need to tackle.
Okay, and so when you came in this field of education and you were studying and all that, were your parents supportive, your partner?
Very
were
much.
were they like, okay, just to kill time you can do it, but you need to?
No, not at all. I think my mother, my father, both of them were very supportive. But then my husband, his career and my career have sort of gone on parallel. If I hadn't had his support, then like a typical Pakistani middle class family, I would have had to say, oh, I can't go to Kasur because my husband is not giving me permission, or my mother-in-law has this objection. I had the full support of my parental family as well as my parents-in-law. So I think that way I have been lucky, and I've had, been given full trust to develop my career. And I think trust is what women need from their family members to really progress in life.
And to blossom and to contribute.
Because you cannot be a confident person in an office workplace if you don't carry the trust of your family with you in that office space.
Fair enough. So, okay, so you worked with all these agencies, and then obviously with World Bank, and then the federal government also at the Ministry of Education. The basic question that I want to ask is, there's so many donor agencies which are working for education here in Pakistan, so many individuals, so many organizations, but yet we have to see the desired results of all these efforts in a pragmatic manner. What do you think is the reason for that? Why do these policies fail or to deliver or to get the desired results?
So this is a very difficult question to answer, FAROOQ, but
you want to call a friend?
No, I think if I'm very bluntly honest, I think that the political will has always been missing from our education policies. Our education policies have not focused on education issues. They've mostly been driven by political agendas. If you pick up any policy, even like, from the 1900s or even before that, they do not tackle education issues as much as they tackle the political economy.
So you're saying that the amount of focus needed on this sector is missing? There are other things which dilute
It is, the focus has been there. If you look at the number of projects that have come to Pakistan, one of my colleagues in Sindh Education once said that PIA doesn't have that many pilots as Pakistan has education pilot programs. So there has definitely not been a shortage of money coming for education. There has definitely not been a shortage of policies being made. There has been, you could say, a lack of political will in implementation. Even in some of the previous education reforms that I worked, the government is usually willing to reconstruct a school, for example. They are happy to paint the school. They're happy to distribute textbooks. But when it comes to improving or investing on the person who is standing there and is giving you or your child education, that political will is not there. Over the years, Pakistan accumulated a lot of teachers who can't even write, who can't even read. Have you ever heard of a government school teacher being fired?
No, not exactly, actually.
So unless and until there is a teacher in the classroom who can relate what education is and teach in a good way, how can you have a good education system? You can make as many policies as you want. You can improve your textbooks. The textbooks that we have right now, they are pretty good textbooks.
So there's a problem with the delivery channel. That's what you're saying.
There's a big problem with the delivery channel. There is a lot of, we say we have the 18th Amendment, we say everything is decentralized. It is definitely not decentralized or devolved in education. The decision of where the teacher will go is still being made on political basis at the provincial level.
So, being a technical advisor and someone who understands, these reforms and this policy to quite an extent, what I infer from you is that we have the focus, we have the hardware to quite an extent, we have the curriculum, but the delivery channel, which is like the teachers or the dissemination of that or the implementation of that policy, there's a problem with that.
Absolutely. Yeah, accountability and governance are the two important things. Unless and until there is accountability of the person going to a school or going to the district education office, unless and until there is a governance system of education that helps in the delivery. For example, we went to Umarkot in Sindh. We discovered from school to school, we visited about 7 schools. We visited school to school. There were halls full of textbooks that had not been distributed to the children.
And they were just lying there?
And they were just lying there.
What's the use of?
So the delivery, the governance, the accountability, who is going to ask who whether that book has been distributed or not. So there's a lot of wastage of resources. If you look at the budget of Pakistan, even right now you go to the schools, you go to the education budget, you will find out that the biggest chunk goes to teachers' salary, almost like 90% of it. So if you're not monitoring who your teacher is,
and
what are they
creating.
teaching, and what they are delivering. Even at the federal level, the Federal Directorate of Education has how many schools? Hardly 400 schools. We haven't even been able to develop an accountability and a monitoring system because the politics of teachers come into play. Our teachers, unless and until they are removed from the political economy, who is the person who is at the school on the election day?
The teachers. They serve as the, So it's a much deeper thought in that.
It's a much deeper thought. So we take education literally, improve the book and everything will change.
Yeah, that's...
let's write down a policy and everything will change.
And I was under the fallacy that probably there's not enough of spending or budget for education. So that's why we are...
So there is definitely less spending if you compare it with other countries. Even we did an analysis, African countries with the same GDP were spending more on education than Pakistan is. So, you know, there's definitely a need to spend more, but that spending more needs to be structured in an accountable way. It cannot go on like this.
Yeah, there has to be some accountability. Viewers, we are in conversation with Ambreen. We are discussing hard, bare facts and trying to find out what are the causes that our education system is in a position where it is right now and how we can improvise that. We're going to take a short break. Ambreen is right here. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Sky is the Limit. We are here with Miss Ambreen Arif, and we're talking about the education sector in Pakistan. Ambreen, I'm sure this is common knowledge that we all know that there are two educational or education statuses in Pakistan. One is the private one is the public one. And there has been centuries old debate on this, whether we should keep it, whether we should do away with it. What do you suggest? Is it good, bad? What are the implications?
So very honestly, you cannot do away with the public sector system.
Yeah.
It is a huge system. Even now in a country like Pakistan, where the public sector has been failing its people for a very long time, even now it caters to more than 60-70% of the children in Pakistan, and if you go towards the rural areas, it may be catering to 100% of that population. So there is no way that you can say that let's just promote the private sector system. In Pakistan, even the private sector has different categories. So you have the private schools for the elite, that may be 0.001% of the whole private sector system. And then there are other low cost, low fee private schools that may not actually be offering good education, but then the perception, not good environment, not good education. They may have one toilet for 100 children. They may have uneducated teachers. They may have just matriculate teachers. While your public sector schools are bigger schools, have more facilities, have better educated teachers. But the perception of parents is that if my child goes to the private school, he or she will do better and will get a job. And their perception of a public sector school is that they will not learn anything there, which is not entirely true. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done on the public sector. It's not that you do away with it. There's a lot that needs to be done on the low cost private sector as well. So what I had mentioned to you about accountability and governance, those are the key factors that need to be applied. You need to pull up the public sector. It is not a difficult job. You need the political will to do it.
And do you feel that the curriculum for all schools should be the same, whether it's private, public, elite for elite, non-elite?
So very honestly, our curriculum has been the same since 2009 and even before that. When we talk about curriculum, the curriculum is a framework document. It lays out the guidelines. It says if you are in grade 1, the child of grade 1 should know this or should be able to do this. That framework was established in 2000. In fact, I think the first curriculum that was established was that was revised was 2006. because before that we had the jihad wars, and there was a lot of talk about Pakistani curriculum that was very fundamentalist. So having the same curriculum means having a same framework, that you say a child studying in HASAN or root school or grammar school in grade 5 will have this basic competency of math, and that applies to a child studying in Kasur government school as well. So having the same curriculum is that. Where we get confused is when we start talking about the implementation of the curriculum and we say
in true spirit,
and we say it should be the same textbook. Nowhere in the world do all the schools have the same textbooks. And you know, even if you look at the Indian education system, their states will follow their own language system, they will follow their own textbook system. So what is being taught in Tamil Nadu will be different from what is being taught in Delhi. But the curriculum frameworks may need to be the same. So we confuse what a curriculum is, what a textbook is. We get into the language wars. What is the language of the textbook? What is the language of instruction? That is also a huge debate in Pakistan that needs to be settled. Why should a child in Gilgit have to study, for example, you know, about the crops that are in Punjab? Yes, a little bit of knowledge is good, that they should know what is being grown in Punjab, but they need more knowledge of what needs to be grown in GB, how it should be. If you have the same textbook, then you take away from the local context.
The local context, the localization basically.
The localization. So it is very important to have textbooks, supplementary reading material. In the Western world, teachers go to the bookshops and they select the books that they will teach their children.
Fair enough.
And we have an Urdu textbook that has a lesson, Abba Ka Ghar, and every child in Pakistan will be reading Abba Ka Ghar. So you know, that I feel is unfair in this day and age where the world has moved on towards a skill-based education. We are still stuck in our language wars, in our textbook wars, and we haven't moved on from that.
So Ambreen, I'd like to ask you, I think this debate usually happens for the schooling system in Pakistan, like the debate between private and public. But as far as universities are concerned, I think all the students who study in all the, you know, like HSN and all, they also prefer going to the public universities like, you know, we have GC Government College, we have Hele College of Commerce, we have Institute of Business Administration, we have Quaid-e-Azam University, which is probably one of the best ranked universities in the world. So why the discrimination? Like, why is the schooling system, you know, there are differences, and for the public universities, they are at par with the international standards. How come?
So I think even for the public sector universities, times have changed. So if I ask the young people now, where do you want to go? Their first choice is either LUMS, IBA Sakhar, IBA Karachi, although IBA Sakhar is one of the very good institutes, but they choose those institutes that have a name and the perception that they will get a job from that. So the choice of Quaid-e-Azam University has probably taken a back seat. When I was studying in Quaid-e-Azam University, you talk to anybody in Islamabad, whether they were the son or daughter of a rich person or a poor person, they were going to Quaid-e-Azam University. So that has changed at the university level as well, but at the schooling level, again I would say the language wars is what I call it. The English medium versus Urdu medium versus that has created the perception amongst parents that if you send your child to a private school, they will have better English.
They will speak in English fluently.
And they will have better job opportunities.
They'll be more groomed.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that is another thing that has come in. And the importance of learning English language, one cannot do away with that. But when you are at the school level, if a child is not taught in the mother tongue, if the child is not taught in a language,
it doesn't affect,
they will not
develop that affiliation with the land, basically.
So our language of instruction in many of our rural schools is still the local language of that area. The book may be in English, Like recently, the single national curriculum changed the language of the geography and the history textbooks from Urdu to English. Teachers are really struggling with that now, because teachers do not have a base of that English to teach the child. So what will they do? So we come up with these policies that are a whim of a politician, but we do not think what is required behind it to implement it.
Fair enough.
So you hand a book to a teacher in Kohistan that is written in English. What is that poor teacher going to do with it if they have not been exposed to the language?
They're probably just going to ignore it and like continue with something else. Anyways, one experiment that was done and was successfully done, I must share it with you, Ambreen, and you will understand it better. One of my very good friends, Shehzad Roy, a singer, also does a lot of social work. He adopted a school in Karachi, a public school, and I went and saw it, Zindagi Trust. And it was amazing, the level of education, the students, cleanliness, the creativity, the computer labs. And I said, this is amazing, why can't we replicate it? Why can't we have a public-private partnership for schools? It could be on a, there are a lot of philanthropists in Pakistan who could donate. It could not be, we might not charge as much as private schools do, but the hardware is there, the buildings are there, why not? What's the hindrance in that?
So that is a question that I've always asked the Sindh Education Department and the Sindh government as well. Whenever I would go, when I was with World Bank, we would go on our mission to discuss our education reforms with the Sindh government, and they would say, oh, have you visited the Shehzad Roy school? And Shehzad and his wife both are very good friends, and I have a lot of respect for the work that they have done. But my response to the Sindh government would be, that is one school. Now they have expanded, they have a teacher training institute, they have another school as well, but still in the thousands of schools in Sindh, those are 3 schools. Why can't you replicate what has worked in your own system? So there is
resistance.
Again, I come back to accountability and governance. Unless and until you improve accountability, if I'm not able to ask the teacher whether you are coming on time or not, are you teaching or not, 40 children in your class have failed in physics, what is wrong with you? If I cannot ask these questions, accountability.
No, but as a policy advisor, I'm asking, okay, at least Sindh has one school like that. I don't think we have any in Balochistan or
No, I will correct you
KP,
here.
yeah.
School adoption and school partnerships with private companies is something that is happening as a reform in Punjab province under the Punjab Education Foundation. It is happening in Sindh under Sindh Education Foundation. Anita Ghulam Ali was a pioneer of the school partnerships and school adoptions. She is a very, very big name in Sindh government, has been a big name. In Balochistan, you have the Balochistan Education Foundation in KP.
So it's happening?
It is happening, but then the scale is not very high. So they can reach 300 schools or 400. Like today, if Shehzad Roy is asked to expand to even 50 schools, he will not be able to stretch himself personally to those 50 schools,
all those areas,
because it requires that personal touch, that governance, having a good head teacher. The government does not even invest on the leadership of the school. So a head teacher in a government school does not have the powers that a private school has. Why does a private school work? Because the teacher is afraid that if I don't go on time, the principal is going to wring my neck.
If the results are not good, the teacher gets fired.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So, but can you do that in the public sector?
No, I don't
so
think
you have to learn from what works in these pilots and then take them to your
best
bigger
practices,
and
import
the
of best practices.
And the best practices. But that is unfortunately not happening.
Not happening on ground. But you do believe that it's a good model, it's a successful model?
It's a brilliant model. I have visited it 2 or 3 times. I have taken World Bank officials to visit it as well, to show them that yes, in Pakistan, a public sector system can be turned around. But then again, they come back with the question, Ambreen, this is happening in this public sector school. Why cannot it happen in Tharparkar? Why cannot it happen in Thatta? Why cannot it happen in Sakhar? Sakhar is the 3rd largest city of Sindh. If you go and look at the schools in the urban areas, you will want to cry after looking at the education level. So those are some of the things that we have to look at.
And I think we need to continuously strive for betterment, otherwise it's not going to happen. I mean, the education system in Pakistan, what do you think? What kind of students are they bringing up? Are they trying to make the students better Pakistanis, better entrepreneurs, be prepared for the next decade, next century? What do you think? Is there any kind of movement in that respect?
So I think that in some ways I would say कि zero, it's not that it's zero. There are some efforts that are being done to take it towards that direction, and there are pockets of experiments that you do see where government is introducing, for example, STEM education, which is science, technology, engineering, and introducing them in schools in a pilot, in small models. But if you look at it from a Pakistan perspective, then we are very much lacking in making our students entrepreneurs. Everybody wants a job at the end of the degree. If you
and
go
a good job.
And a good job. In the urban areas, they want to go to corporate sector. In the rural areas, they say, "Oh, I want to become a clerk in this government office." Everybody wants a government job.
Government jobs are always a favorite.
Everybody wants a government job, and that's not going to happen. If you look at our population, that is definitely not going to happen. We are definitely not pushing our children towards entrepreneurship. We are definitely not making our education more skill based. That is something where more work needs to be done.
I think because we are an agro-based economy, and I personally feel that the vocational skills, and we have a lot of institutions which are imparting vocational skills and training, TEFTA, NAFTEC and all, but I think it's probably not enough, because in the Western countries, this is one area which is in demand. So we can have a lot of labor going abroad and bringing forex for the country if we invest in this.
Absolutely, and what it requires is also a better Wi-Fi coverage, internet coverage, better cabling across the country, so that children can have access to knowledge that is just not in the books but is now available free of cost on internet as well. During COVID, when everything was shut down, we used to have this debate, if this continues, what are the children going to see in schools? So we put an ad as the government at the federal level, we put an ad in the newspaper, and we said the government is looking for educational content that is digitized. And you would not believe it, it still gives me a warm feeling that there were so many people who came up. I received about 25,000, 30,000 emails across Pakistan, and they said, I have this educational content, please take it from me for free. And that is something that we could use to start tele school. It had its issues, etc. But what we felt was, at least there's some content that is going into the houses. There's so much more we could do that, because if we cannot change the teachers overnight, we can definitely give our teachers these skills through the digitized content. And there are, again, I would say, because I'm a very optimistic person, so I look at the brighter side of things. So there are efforts that are being made at the federal level, at the Punjab level, at the Sindh level, Balochistan level, KP level, to take educational technology and education content through technology into schools. So if your teacher doesn't know how to teach English, then you have content from Talimabad or Sabak Muse or Sabak.pk that it can be given to the teacher that, look, hey, you learn and you teach your students.
You spread this.
So there are those opportunities that are happening right now and are out there. Maybe we need to do more. Maybe we need to concentrate more on the implementation of education.
And I think COVID, where it had all its demerits, one of the things that came out was the online education and teleschool. Although we were not prepared for, the world wasn't prepared for it, but for developing countries, I think it was a blessing in disguise in the sense that this is something which is the future. And do you think it worked out, the online education formula in Pakistan?
Yeah, I think that it is a start. It has now started happening in some of the remoter areas as well. In Pakistan right now it's happening in more of a fusion way. So you have the teacher in the classroom and you have the digital content to support that as well.
Yeah.
But obviously we are still limited by simple things like not having electricity, not having computers, so it's not even Wi-Fi. Even providing offline content becomes a challenge. But again, there are headways being made in this. Gilgit-Baltistan has started introducing from grade 6 to 8 entrepreneurship education. So giving the child an opportunity not to just learn Abba ka ghar, but also getting an opportunity to learn how to
be innovative.
How to talk confidently. We kill the confidence of our children in schools. We need to bring that out. How will they become an entrepreneur if they cannot talk to a person, if they cannot sell their idea, if they cannot think? We stop the thinking of the children in our schools. But again, I would say there are efforts being made to open up that thinking.
Yeah, and I was telling Vani Bhai, who was the chief secretary there, that it should be a system driven, not a personality driven, because wherever he goes, he tries to introduce reforms, but then they should not stop after he leaves.
Yeah.
But I visited the Gilgit-Baltistan road show and there were so many talented students. I was so impressed and so amazed. Okay, mashallah, what kind of talent we have. Ambreen, tell me, leading a good life here in Islamabad, working with the World Bank or the Federal Education Ministry as an advisor, and then leaving everything and such a beautiful house and going to Hunza and staying there for 9 months and 10 months every year at a stretch. What made you do that? You got tired of the, tired of people, meeting people, what?
No, I think I am meeting more people there, but I think it was the mountains.
Yeah.
And I think we fell in love with the mountains. When I say we, this was mostly driven by my husband.
Okay.
He is a bird watcher, bird photographer, nature lover. And he was like, what are you doing? You're going to meeting after meeting saying the same thing. And I think after 20-25 years of being in the development sector was making me jaded and cynical. So I thought it was time that I removed myself and probably gave an opportunity to somebody who's more optimistic to join instead of me, and I should go off to the mountains. But it has been a brilliant experience going off into the mountains.
You have a resort there?
We have a nature resort. We call it the Two Magpies. Magpie is the local bird there. And so
I think Heckle and Jekyll were magpies. If
no,
they were not magpies?
No. So magpie is a much more beautiful, although it is probably from the crow family, but definitely not Heckle and Jekyll. So
I just remembered from a childhood. Okay.
So we call it the Two Magpies. It's wooden huts. We've made it in an apricot garden. We have not touched the land. We have made it in the trees. I think that we cut only 2 trees when we were making that.
Okay.
We tried to preserve the land as it is, made wooden huts, and we try to give people an experience of the beauty of Hunza.
Yeah.
We have a Raka Poshi facing view, so you can just sit, look at Raka Poshi.
So you enjoy nature, enjoy life, and at the same time you have enough revenue to sustain your lifestyle.
So I would say the last year was pretty bad for tourism with the fuel prices and the floods and the rains. But we haven't set this up as a business. You could say it is our love.
Passion.
It's our passion.
So domestic tourism in Gilgit-Baltistan, has it improvised over the last few years?
So it has improved, but unfortunately again, there are many other things that need to improve with that. The roads, infrastructure, PIA. I think PIA has cost me so many guests.
But they have direct flights now from Karachi and Lahore.
They go to Skardu, but not to Gilgit. So the many cancellations. People come on a very tight schedule.
2 days, 3 days.
Exactly. So there are
weather down.
Exactly. So many foreign tourists just cancel the trip. So that means that we've booked a room. We are waiting for them to come, but you know, PIA.
So your next venture should be running your own airline now. That should, you know, this blockchain.
Okay, I don't think that is going to happen anytime soon.
So how was your experience going to Gilgit-Baltistan? How are the people there? What is the education level there, and are they receptive to innovations and all?
So Arif and I, because my husband Arif used to work with Aga Khan Foundation, so he had been visiting the areas many years. We again, like, we are mountain lovers, so we have been going to the mountains since 2001. Regular, every annual holiday was spent in the mountains, camping, Deosai. He even produced a book on colors of Deosai.
Oh, yeah, I was watching that. Yeah, I think I'll...
So he and I think that we sort of became part of the GB family. So for us, it was not a difficult decision to think, okay, retirement plan, let's go to Hunza, so that we have people from the local community. We like to work with them. We give employment.
So viewers, this is the book Colors of Deosai, and Arif Bhai has written this?
Has produced with Ghulam Rasool. Arif and Ghulam Rasool are the two main photographers in this, but capturing the colors of Deosai in autumn, in summer, in spring. So yeah, our passion for the mountains.
We have limited time on our hands. I mean, it's been lovely chatting with you in such an informal manner. Being such a senior resource who served in the Federal Ministry also of Education and, you know, donor agencies also. What advice would you want to give as an experienced resource in education policy sector to all the Pakistanis?
To all the Pakistanis, I don't think that, you know, my first focus would be the policy makers and the decision makers of Pakistan, that for heaven's sake, work on your education policies, because they are the ones who are going to develop your human resource. Pakistan is going to be nothing if we do not invest on our human resource. We have a huge young generation that is out there. If they do not get jobs, if they do not have paths for themselves, if they are not entrepreneurs, if they cannot look for opportunities, if they are not innovators, Pakistan will continue to be in a turmoil. And for Pakistan to grow, education and investing on human resource are the most important things.
Mandatory items.
Mandatory. And for all the rich, educated Pakistanis, because we have a whole section that can go just for fun to London School of Economics and get a degree. I meet so many young women who've done their economics degree from London School of Education, and if I ask them, oh, what are you doing now? Nothing. There is so much that the educated,
they can contribute back.
They can contribute. It could be a small basis of just volunteering in a school, going there and teaching arts or music to the young children, or teaching English to the young children. Just apne mahalle ka, just a school.
Adopt.
So,
you know,
but there's so much that these people can give back to Pakistan. If I look at it, Pakistan gave me an MPhil degree that cost me just a few hundred rupees. You know how expensive it is to get a higher degree in the West? It can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. Literally, they take your blood out as well. Pakistan makes doctors, engineers in these fabulous public sector universities on pennies.
Yeah.
So it is our responsibility
to plow back,
to give back to our country.
Great. Ambreen, such a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.
Thank
I wish
you,
you all the best,
FAROOQ.
and all the best for your Hunza resort also.
Thank you
and
so much.
you know, I'm sure a lot of people, the local domestic tourism is picking up. A lot of people who go to Hunza will come and have a chat with you also.
And I will thank
such an
you
interesting
for that,
company.
FAROOQ.
Yes, such an amazing company. Viewers, with this we come to the end of our chat with Ambreen Arif. I hope you enjoyed it. Whenever you visit Hunza, go and see her in her resort, and you can have a chat with her on education or on anything for that matter. She's an amazing person, very knowledgeable. FAROOQ Hassan will see you in another exciting episode of Sky is the Limit. Till then, Allah Hafiz.